Form 602, the disclosure form. So this form can be used if you are working with a seller, working with a buyer. It's basically a disclosure form that you can use for various different reasons. The reason we use it as a brokerage is to talk about our trust funds and also about interest on the actual deposit. So you'll see that in this disclosure form, it can go to the buyer or the seller and you put their names in there and who is disclosing it. So right now, because this is the brokerage, it's Red and White Realty Inc. Representative of the brokerage, you would put your name there and the property address. You'll see that in accordance with the requirements of the Trust and Real Estate Service Act, the following is hereby disclosed to the buyer or seller. So you would, if this is a listing and this is our disclosure to the buyer, then they would add this to be buyer here. Brokerage providing service to the seller and buyer in respect of a trade. We're not doing that. The brokerage has entered into an agreement with the seller which provide terms that may affect or whether an offer to buy is accepted. The terms are as follows. So this might be that you're going to reduce your commission if you double end the property, that type of thing. You can put that there. Here's the disclosure that the brokerage is making. The brokerage will be placing the deposit in trust in the brokerage's interest-bearing real estate trust account, which earns interest at prime minus 3.5%. And our condition or is the interest is not paid out on the buyer deposit. So the reason we're disclosing that is so that the buyer does not think they're getting interest. The other thing that we're saying to them or disclosing is that deposit will be held for 10 days. This is to ensure funds clear and no fraudulent activity has occurred. This is for all forms of deposit. We want to make sure that the money goes into the account and then it stays in the account for 2 weeks. And that way, when we give it back, it isn't fraudulent. We have had that happen, so we don't want it to happen again. And then you go down here and you would sign it. So the agent that's representing the buyers would sign it and put their name, and then we would just acknowledge that we've got it there. Now, let's say you wanted to use it. You could use this for putting in a material fact. For instance, you could say down here that um, there's vermiculite in the attic, for instance. So any of these disclosures you can do, but this form in its current state that's in our web form kits is a disclosure from Red and White Realty to a buyer to let them know what is happening with their interest on their deposit and also that that's going to be held for 10 days so they don't think that they can just give us a deposit and then walk away from the deal and get the money back. That's not the purpose, so that's why we put it in there. So that is our 602, and that's why we use it. This has replaced most of the Schedule B. You can still use the Schedule B if you want to add things to your listing or to your offers, but the disclosure from the brokerage to the buyer is this form that we're using here, Form 602. Hope that helps.